Another fine day at Camp Dynasty. I am Counselor Austin, joined by Counselor Collin. It's week 6, baby. We're nearly to the midway point of the college football season. Next week, we will be revisiting our big boards for a midseason rankings update. But before we get there, Collin, we have to talk about week 6 and hand out some badges.
Do you ever just feel like time is happening to you? Like, like you saying, I know we've been kind of working towards and like teasing mid-season coming up, but just the fact that it's next week already and connecting that to like we've already been through a half of a college football season kind of makes me sick to my stomach. But I'm excited either way to like make these lists. I have no idea what it's going to end up looking like even as of today until I sit down and put pen to paper over the next week or so preparing for that. So I'm really excited. I'm excited about these players. We have a fair amount of new names. I mean, we have been going to the chalkboard week after week. And, you know, it's been the guys, Jordan Tyson, Jeremiah Love, and company. And it feels like we're bringing in a pretty fresh batch in this episode.
Yeah, definitely will be nice to talk about a large number of new names on this one, some of which are maybe players that we'll be talking about next week. I mean, some of these guys, like they were either fringe guys, the last time we did a big board. Maybe there's a guy here that's going to make an entrance into a top 12. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. So it's an exciting time. Yeah, like you said, we're almost halfway through the college football season. The 2026 class, honestly, still kind of a mystery in the sense of like it's very wide open. Like there's a lot of real estate that's available for players. We have some guys at the top that we feel excellent about. I mean, Jordan Tyson, man, I'm feeling better about him week after week. Just seeing the types of receivers now that are working out in the NFL.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about that in All Grown Up. I don't know if you saw that John Ledyard tweet today.
Yep.
It's like guys like that are what's hitting, and Tyson, that is the exact mold that we're talking about with him. So that's exciting stuff. But we're not talking about Jordan Tyson this week. We are talking about potentially one of the top wide receivers in this class getting your first badge of the week.
Yeah, we're talking about Carnell Tate here, starting off this week. We're talking about the Ohio State receiver, if you're unfamiliar, not Jeremiah Smith, who you're probably familiar with. Number 17 on Ohio State, the other guy that they are funneling the ball to in this passing offense. And this week, more so than ever this season against Minnesota, had 10 targets, which is a season high, 9 catches, also a season high, the 183 yards, also a season high, and then a touchdown. He scored a touchdown in every game but one. Last week against Washington was the only game where he didn't score a touchdown. This was by far his best game. He's getting the Maid of Honor badge. You go through all of these wide receivers that have been good coming out of Ohio State. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, it feels like. You got like Chris Olave, who is like the number 2. Garrett Wilson was the 1 there. Marvin Harrison was the number 1. But Jackson Smith and Jigba, Emeka Egbuka, and now Carnell Tate all feel like they were the number 2 guy. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And Tate, again, is having one of those seasons where, yeah, he's playing second fiddle a little bit, but in these games where he gets featured, he shows exactly like the type of receiver that he is. And we just saw, this weekend evidence of these, quote unquote bridesmaid type receivers with Egbuka and JSN going head to head and just being like unbelievable. So even if these guys are wide receiver 2s in their college offenses, it doesn't mean that they can't work out. And it feels like Tate is one of those types of players that has the nice route running, has great separation ability, has good athleticism, can do some stuff after the catch, and is like very committed to getting the ball in his hands, like having a wide catch radius. Like he is going to attack the ball in the air and make it happen. And so I'm a huge fan of Carnell Tate. He is my number 2 receiver coming in from the summer. He may have moved, he may not have. We'll see next week. I'll wait. I'll make you hang on that for a week. But I like the player a lot.
Yeah, Tate was just on the outside looking in for me in the summer. He was my wide receiver 6, and just outside of my top 12 as well. But that was, we had a very extensive conversation about Tate in the summer, really all about seeing it for the first time, because obviously last season, like he's running second fiddle. This season it's going to be the same type of a situation. Well, actually last year was
He
third
was
fiddle.
third, right?
And so this year, that maid of honor role, which at Ohio State, I mean,
That's what I'm
it
saying.
doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like they're running 2 deep of NFL guys every season at least, if not 3 deep. So this was going to be the year where we got to see it if it was going to happen, and luckily it is starting to happen for him. And this game, like you said, not only a season high, easily a career high in terms of receiving yardage. I think previously it had only been like 101 or 103. And he had been over 100 yards once already this season, but way up there this week. Huge game, running some really, really nice routes, the double move,
Yeah.
and things like that, where you're seeing a bigger, kind of lankier, little slender type of a player, but one that definitely has the fluidity to be a really strong route runner. And what really stands out to me, and honestly, the biggest thing that stood out in the summer as well, it's just being really accentuated now, is his ability at the catch point, because you said it, he's attacking the ball. And I mean, that's been something that we've seen all season long. Go back to week 1 when he made a great the great touchdown catch against Texas. And then, this week we see, every week in and week out, he's making these tough catches on the season. 7 contested catches on 8 contested targets. He was 2 for 2 this week. I mean, ridiculous percentage. He's over 60% for his career.
Yeah.
65% contested catch player in his career. He is a real, player at the catch point. And when he's starting to run some routes like you're seeing now and getting more involved and being a bit more featured in this offense, it's no surprise that he's a name that I think you're going to be hearing a lot throughout this season and throughout the draft process.
Yeah, and he's had a 40-yard catch in every game, but one, that last game against Washington, kind of contributes to that, like you catching that bomb for a touchdown like once a game. For a guy that's not like really, I wouldn't say is like a speed guy. He's obviously very athletic, but that's not really the calling card, I wouldn't say, for Carnell Tate. But yeah, he has that in the bag. This was the most yards after catch he's had in a game with 66. Yards per route run. I harp on that a lot because you like to see your guys up and over, 2.5. That feels like 2.7. He's at 3.6 for this season. That's like a JSN type number, where JSN was sitting around that like over 3.5. Buoyed a little bit by this week being at like 7.32, where he's just like catching a 20-yard pass every single time he's on the field. But really good like underlying numbers for Carnell Tate, and he's pretty strictly outside receiver. He's playing 10% of his snaps in the slot, 90% outside. So a lot of these guys in this class are slot receivers, which is a good thing. I mean, that's not to say like it's a bad thing, but Carnell Tate, a little bit of a different archetype than many of the guys in this class.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we've talked a lot about that, the size component of this draft class. Jordan Tyson, obviously at the top, he's playing outside and inside. He's got the versatility there, but think of him more as an outside wide receiver. And then, you get guys like Mekhi Lemon, who's having the huge season, but he's playing from the slot. It's guys like Tate that have the size and that they're playing outside, and they have the ability, like you said. He's not a burner. I mean, I think he's going to have a good like combine performance, but like it's really with the nuance of his route running and things like that, where he's consistently threatening over the top. That was something that we saw even in his limited action last season, a consistent ability to take the top off of a defense from the outside. So yeah, it's been awesome to see it. He really is having the breakout season that we were hoping.
And I think the next player that we have also can be said to have a breakout season so far.
Definitely. This is maybe the name that I was talking about potentially sneaking into the top 12s when we talk next week. I'm not sold on it yet. I do want to get back into the tape a little bit more to confirm what we are seeing out of Justice Haynes, the running back from Michigan. A couple of weeks ago, I wanted to give him a badge. He was coming off of a big time performance against Nebraska, 17 carries, 149 yards, and a touchdown. I opted to go with Mendoza that week instead, but I shouted him out. I was like, I see what you're doing, man. I'm really intrigued by this. And he's keeping it going here in week 6 against Wisconsin. 19 carries, 117 yards, and 2 more touchdowns. He's been over 100 yards in all 5 games this season. He's up to 8 touchdowns now in 5 games. I mean, this really was one of the players that it was sort of like put a star by his name. And you were the one that shouted him out in the summer. Like, he's coming from Alabama, he's going to this Michigan program. We've seen how this program has churned out running backs over the last few years. What could Haynes look like in his first real opportunity at having a featured role in a backfield? And he's excelling in that role. I mean, he's getting, right around 20 carries, like 17 carries per game about, and he's doing a lot with it, 7.7 yards per carry this season. And he's just having a great year. So it's definitely a player that I want to dive more into the film of this season before I just, look at these numbers and stick them in the top 12. But I do have to say, for a running back class that is leaving a lot to be desired, I would be very surprised if this player wasn't quickly rising in the running back ranks in the 2026 class. And by the way, he is getting the new sheriff in town badge because his name is Justice.
I like that. He got a badge week 1 for us. I gave him a badge against New Mexico, and I mean, has been on fire since then. I mean, a touchdown, at least a touchdown every game. Missed tackles force numbers are really good. Looking at 20 on the season so far. He had 4 in this game. Has a breakout run pretty much every game. Has at least a 20-yard run in every game and at least a 40-yard run in all but one game. So this is a kind of a classic. This Michigan O-line is very good. They're a run-first team, and Haynes is definitely benefiting from that. But he's also a creator. Like, you can't just pin it all on, this is a good team kind of bullying other teams, mauling them up front. Haynes has a good instinct. I can't say, like, I love the vision, but we'll get more into, like, his, quirks later on. But I still think that there is, like, he's a really good athlete. He makes people miss. When like the reading is right, it looks fantastic. So I am excited to see, where this develops or where this development continues to go towards, because right now, I mean, already the best season of his like young college career, his first 2 seasons at Alabama, only having 600 total yards in the 2 combined seasons, already at 654 this year. So we're talking about a player that like is eclipsing what he has ever been in his first season at a new school in 6 games. So very impressive. This is a full breakout. Very excited to see if this continues and we can like project out 1,300 yards on a season and 16 touchdowns, because then we're talking about like the type of player that, like you said, is going to bring himself to up in the first round of dynasty drafts just by running back scarcity alone, but also good talent.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm actually really interested to see as we prepare for next week, does he enter the top 12? Because I'll say this, we were talking before the show, it's not a Caleb Johnson situation for me. He is not popping off the screen for me in the way that Caleb Johnson did last year.
Well,
I think
Caleb
he's
Johnson
having
is bad. Remember that.
well, we might talk about that later, but yeah, Caleb Johnson sucks. So if he's not as good as Caleb Johnson, then I guess we probably shouldn't be drafting him. But um, it really has been like you said, don't love the vision. There are things when I'm even watching this game where I was kind of like, kind of in the back of your
Yep.
mind, like, well, yeah, I didn't love that rep, or like he's not catching a lot of passes, and like there's things like that. But we can get into that conversation maybe next week, whether he's in the top 12 or not. I think just like you said, because of the running back scarcity that is in this class, we're going to be talking about guys like Haynes as almost a default, no matter if he's running away with an RB2, RB3 type of role in this class or not.
Yeah. And someone who's not going to be a default in the first round, but I feel like needs to be mentioned is Nico Iamaleava of UCLA. And I had to take him here. I know, I don't know what he is as a prospect, but he's been, one of the characters of college football for the last 3 years. And he had a sick game against Penn State. So I just thought we should give him a shout out. He's getting the dual threat badge, one that we've given out before, for his game against Penn State, where he was 17 for 24 for a $166 through the air, 2 touchdowns. And then he had 12 carries for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So a 5 touchdown game to upset Penn State, to this UCLA team. I saw on the lower third in the game, it was like this team has never led in a game this season or something like that. I was like, that can't be right, but I'm gonna trust it because I don't think they'd put it on the screen if they didn't mean it. But and then immediately Iamaleava throws a touchdown. It's like, oh, let's go. He hasn't been particularly good this year. I'll put that out there. He's been like better, obviously, than he was the last 2 years at Tennessee. It's been kind of like an abject disaster for Nico, where he came in as this like fun prospect, improviser with a strong arm that could make things happen outside of the pocket, that had good feet and good instincts, and like I said, really impressive arm talent, but didn't really do anything his first year at Tennessee. Got his chance to start his second year. Had 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 picks. And it was like, man, this experiment is not going well. Transfers over to UCLA, starts off the season shaky against Utah. And it's like, oh, maybe this guy just is bad at football. But since then has kind of rebounded and like been serviceable in this system. And that's kind of what I saw most of the beginning of the year, is like he's not making any difficult throws, not making any difficult reads, which was different this week against Penn State. I think he actually looked like a serviceable real quarterback, and it felt like a player that had built some confidence back in his talent. And the talent and the confidence kind of married themselves in this game. Whether this is a long-term thing or not, I don't know. I'd assume it's not. But every once in a while, like, you have this fun prospect, this fun high school prospect coming into college, and it doesn't work out. How often is it like, hey, he's on top of the world for like a minute,
Well, it is. There's a bigger conversation here as well, which is that the quarterback class is very quickly not looking like how it was looking in the summer. And I mean, one of the players that we've talked about this season already is Dante Moore, which I think is a player that it's going to deserve, some extra consideration here when we get into the postseason process. He's going to be at the top of my quarterback, review list when we get into that process, because I think he's having an excellent season. And Moore was kind of in the same position that Nico was once upon a time, coming in with all of the expectation. And I mean, being at UCLA, and kind of like not meeting what was expected of him, and he transfers and he ends up at Oregon, and now you start to see the talent starting to become realized. And in, Nico's case, it was the move from Tennessee to UCLA. And like you said, it hasn't been a smooth season. There's a lot of, like nobody's showing up to the games for UCLA, and they didn't have a win before this week. But this is the kind of thing that, this could change the trajectory of his college career. This is a massive win.
Yep.
This is a huge performance against a team that, despite what we've seen the last couple weeks, like they came into the season as playoff and title, hopefuls and potentially favorites. And this was a masterclass performance. He's got, rushing, on the ground, through the air, and so I don't know. Maybe it's a player that we're talking about more in terms of the 2027 quarterback class. I wonder if this season is more of like the platform year for him, and then we go into next year with like some momentum, talking about like, well, that arm talent, he had those flashes last year, but I think it just goes to show that the quarterback class this year is kind of different than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think we pitched it almost as like, hey, this is really good. There might be four guys. We talked about Arch Manning, we talked about Aller, we talked about Nussmeier, and it was like, as those were like the big three of like, these guys are for sure gonna, be there at the end of the season. And honestly, like all of them have disappointed. And so somebody's got to fill those shoes. And like, I'm sure, there's a lot of season left, and you can't like adjust fully, like go from one end to the other through a season. But it's been disappointing, and you kind of want some guys to look exceptional and to really stand out and do like the Burrow thing, or even like the Cam Ward thing, where at the beginning of the season you feel worse about them and you come all the way to the other end. But so far, nobody's really jumped out like that. Dante Moore being maybe an exception.
Yeah. Dante Moore. I almost gave Ty Simpson a badge this week. That's another one that's maybe coming into the conversation a little bit. So there's definitely some names, maybe some from the top. Arch is
Yeah, rest in peace.
on to 2027. Let's just say that. I think that I think it's over for this year if it was ever a thing to begin with. But all right. Well, let's talk about another player that is entering the conversation for 2026. This time at the tight end position. It's Michael Trigg. Holy hell. What a season Michael Trigg is having. This week, the biggest performance of the year for him, massive numbers from a tight end. 8 catches on 13 targets, 155 yards, and no touchdowns in this one. But highlights all over the place, including one of the best catches you'll ever see. He's getting the Velcro hands badge for me. The catch I'm referring to against the sideline, where he just puts the hand up into the air and just palms it like one-handed, like no big deal. Like, I'm just gonna snatch this thing, keep my feet in bounds, and make a huge play.
This looks so easy.
It did. It looked effortless. And so, and he had another really nice catch in the seam, jumping up, high pointing it, extending his arms above his head, pulling it in, taking a hit. He's having an awesome season. The whole body of work has been excellent. 439 yards already this year, 4 touchdowns for him. He almost had 100 yards in week 1 at 99 against Auburn. Now gets well over the century mark in this one. So obviously, when you're a tight end putting up these kinds of numbers, there's going to be a lot of attention on you in terms of the NFL draft. And what does this mean? And this is a player that has been around for a minute. His name has been in this conversation before. He's not just like emerging and it's like, who the hell is this 6th-year guy? Trigg has had a very interesting trajectory in college. So starting off as the number 8 tight end in 2021, a 4-star player. I mean, he came into college football with expectations with that sort of recruiting background. He broke his collarbone in 2022, missed most of the season. He was getting a little bit of buzz, I believe, before that season. He had transferred from USC to Ole Miss. In 2023, while still at Ole Miss, he is dismissed from the program in late September. He played 3 games in 2023, and then all of a sudden, Lane Kiffin's like, yeah, he's no longer with the team. And nobody really knows what happened. There's speculation, of course. I couldn't find any like real reporting on the reasons why he was dismissed from the team. But he ended up with Baylor. And last season, his first at Baylor, he had 392 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a really solid year in his 4th year of college football, and now having a full breakout moment. So it has been a bit of a journey. There's been some injuries. There's been some, potential character things potentially involved in this as well. But you can't really argue with the results right now on the field.
Yeah, it took him, I'm not going to say it took him this long, but really took him 6 weeks to just be like, or 5 weeks after week one, to just be like, hey, let's just throw this guy the damn ball, like as many times as possible, because he looks way bigger than he's listed. Like 6'4", 240, feels like he's like 6'5", pushing maybe, like he feels pretty tall. Really long arms, and just like a fluid mover for this size, and it makes it all look really easy. Like you said, running up that sideline and getting that mid out in the air, and just like plucking the ball out of the air like it was nothing. Like you're, just casual, just the most casual, just a little like, yeah, 25 yards, yeah, right, like. Yeah, seriously, make it look so easy. But a tight end name that's sorely needed, I would think, in a tight end class. We haven't mentioned a lot of tight ends in these first 6 weeks, so hopefully somebody that's sticky in this class. It seems like he will be. Him and Stowers are the only tight ends that have gotten badges so far this season.
Yeah. I again, this is another one where I wouldn't be so quick
Mm-hmm.
to see these numbers and be like, "Oh, we got like a
Yep.
maybe a first round tight end here." Like, I don't think that's what's happening with Trigg. First of all, he's playing mostly out of the slot. In this game, it was 77% of his snaps in the slot. He's 69% on the season. So he is a bigger player, like you said. Like he's listed 6'4", 240, but he looks big. It seems like he has long arms, kind of a lankier build. But they're playing him in the slot, and he does have good movement skills and a little bit of burst involved in that. But it's going to be one of those players that's, I think, a little tricky to match him 1-to-1 with what are you going to be doing in the NFL. So again, it's like we're celebrating the performances of college football. Certainly, Trigg is in the conversation in this draft class.
Yeah.
Like that's undeniable. But realistically thinking about what is this going to look like from dynasty perspective, who are the top players in the class, I'm not sold that Trigg is going to be one of those guys at tight end just quite yet. But I mean, it's been a hell of a season so far.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Next up, another new name.
Another new name, and he's getting the throwback badge. This is Trent Walker from Oregon State. The reason he's getting the throwback badge is because if you try to watch this game, it's in standard definition in like 4:3 aspect ratio, filmed for VCR. This is like somebody shot this on a video camera that their mom had that they filmed like their elementary school plays on back in the day. Found it in the drawer, and they're like, we got to tape this game. So shame on you, App State. I don't like that very much. But number 7 showed up on that tape. I can tell you that. 13 catches on 15 targets for $179. Did not find the end zone. But he's also kind of a throwback, ex-receiver. This is a guy that finds separation, runs hard with the ball after the catch, really puts his nose down to get to the sticks. I've noticed that a few times where he'd catch it short of the sticks, and he's like, "Hey, man, me and you and the yellow yard marker on the ground, I'm diving across that thing, and you're coming with me." So I appreciate that. He had 9 first downs or better on his 13 catches. So you're talking about a guy that is efficient with these targets. 13.8 yards per reception. Not an exceptional yak player, but good enough where he's a 61 yards after the catch in this game. He's getting about 4.4 yards after the catch per reception on the season. Sitting at 10.3 ADOT, which is a nice number, over 10 yards per target down the field, and then 2.73 yards per route run. So all of these advanced metrics I feel like are looking pretty good. Talking about a guy who didn't do anything against Oregon in the one big game that actually matters, but in every other game has pretty much delivered week in and week out. So just got to find the end zone, Trent. That's the only thing missing from having a really good season. Only had 2 touchdowns last year with a 900-yard campaign. So I don't know what's up with that, because it feels like, he's due maybe to get in the end zone here once or twice, but just not a red zone target so far.
Is the Jacoby Myers comp? I mean, tied for third in receiving yardage in college football. I mean, that's pretty crazy for a player that had literally 0 yards against Oregon.
Yeah,
literally didn't.
3 targets, no, he played. I checked.
So he's been really productive for them. I mean, this is a senior, I believe. I unless this is a redshirt year, maybe 2021. But either way, I mean, we'll see. The kind of just screams Senior Bowl guy to me.
Yeah.
Like he's going to show up there and it'd be like, you'll have a rep and it's like, oh yeah, Trent Walker, he had a really good year this year, didn't he? But saw him blocking a little bit on the Motorola Razor film. But
God, I can't believe anybody, how do we not have high def 1080p cameras in 2025?
How long has it been since we as a society moved to HD?
Yeah.
How are we still,
I feel
how is it still possible?
When did Blu-rays come out? I feel like that's the last time we were accepted standard definition as the standard. We were like, oh, hey, this is an option. Everybody's going to do this. And it's not App State. App State's still running, that thing's running at 300 Fahrenheit too, probably. Overheating the press box up there.
Oh, good old App State. Can't argue with the vibes there in Boone though. I mean, that's still the maybe my favorite rebuild team in the college football video game, because of you get the autumn foliage every time you load into a new game. It's really nice.
Can't really beat that.
No. All right, let's talk about another new name at wide receiver and another player that's having a very productive season. This is Chris Bell Jr. from Louisville. This week against Virginia has his best game of the season. 12 catches on 14 targets, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A massive game. This is back-to-back weeks with 14 targets. He's getting the ball hog badge for me. Miller Moss is just I don't want to throw anybody else the ball. We'll give it to Isaac Brown, but then we're going to throw it to Chris Bell.
If it ain't broke.
Yeah. I mean, it's working, because last week against Pittsburgh, 135 yards and a touchdown. He's up to 502 on the season, 4 touchdowns. This was a player that last season had 737 yards and 4 touchdowns. Really kind of a solid year for Louisville, and he's building on it this year. And the build of the player is also kind of intriguing. 6'2", 220. This is the kind of
Yeah.
player that, I start to feel some things when you see him going up, making a big catch. I mean, he had a one-handed catch for one of his touchdowns in this game on a back shoulder play. Really, really nice stuff. He's 7 for 12 on contested catches this year. This is another guy that's right around 60% for his career in contested situations. So he's got the size, he's got the catch point ability and the talent there. Showing you a little bit as a route runner in this game. He's running, not a ton of routes, not anything that was dropping your jaw, but curls, outs, some crossing stuff, and a lot of back shoulder stuff. Him and Moss seem to have a pretty good connection. So it was a really, really interesting game. I'm excited to see where Chris Bell, continues to go from here.
Let's get this guy into the slot. Just
there
like
it is.
a fun athlete that it seems really hard to just like get your hands on him to tackle him. Feels like could be a really good yak player, but also like the like slot fade potential with Chris Bell of having all that room to the sideline to go back shoulder or use the speed to beat him over the top. I just like the idea of having these guys be big slots and getting a little weird. But I thought like I was really impressed by this. The one-handed back shoulder was nasty. The DB has his arm kind of pinned as DBs do, and he just comes and like sticks it to his hip. Like he's carrying like the laundry up the stairs. He's like, yeah, let me just secure this bad boy. And then the other touchdown he has, he's just running a drag route, running away from people, running through people, breaking tackles. So a lot of really good stuff. Unfortunately, doesn't exist at the same time as like prime Aaron Rodgers, because I feel like this would have been like that back shoulder connection that he has with Miller Moss is like exactly the same kind of back shoulder connection that like Rodgers had with Devontae. So fun watch, that's for sure.
All right. We got 2 players to end the show, and by God, IDPs are people too.
Yes, 2 IDPs made it to the end of the show. I'm starting with David Bailey from Texas Tech. Played against Houston, had an absurd 13 total pressures, 2 sacks, 5 QB hits, 6 hurries, and then 2 tackles on top of it. Has had a pretty impressive season, has 33 total pressures, which I was trying to pull up is a high amount on the season. I think he's like top 5 in pressures on the season, but PFF's taking a super long time to load for me. But he's getting the relentless badge this week for some of the just like, so he's number 1 in pressures. So is top 5. And he is doing it on a far less snap count than anybody else. I didn't see him at first on the totals because I normally set it to like a certain threshold of like, you need to play this amount of snaps for me to like, and I was like, Dave Bailey had a sick week. Why is he not showing up on like these season long charts? It's because he's only been on the field for 188 total snaps. You talk about a guy that we've talked about a few times. Rueben Bain has been on the field 258 snaps. So he's looking at like a 70 snap difference and has more pressures, more sacks. And so this is a 6'3", 250-pound edge player. So pretty small, I would say. And you can kind of see that in his play style. He's not like this like physically imposing, like huge edge rusher that's like Myles Garrett that you're looking across the line from. But he's going to beat you in multiple ways. He has a bag where he turns that corner a lot and flattens that edge where he's like pressuring that pocket and making quarterbacks have to be very disciplined, stepping up into the pocket, rolling out. You got to play really smart against David Bailey. But he also has really nice power where he is pushing himself into your chest and then making your life pretty much a living hell, like down to down. Some things that I would love to see more of is just like straight effort. Like you're only on the field for specialized downs. You are deployed as like a sick'em kind of player, and it feels like if it's a run play, he's almost disinterested, which is like a big red flag for me because it's like I get that they're putting you down, putting you out there on like passing downs and like need to have it downs. But if the run play is going away from you, chase it down, man. Like I understand you have 33 pressures. I understand you're the shit, but let, we're we're trying to make it to the league, man. Like you did 3 years at Stanford. It was solid, but you never had a season like this. We get to Texas Tech. We're putting up some sexy numbers. Let's chase down on that backside and clean up and meet your teammates at the ball.
Yeah, we talked about David Bailey on the Freaks List episode. He is obviously a freak show, and this was, a big story with him transferring to Texas Tech and how is that going to look like this year. And he's been incredible. I mean, he's been unbelievable as a pass rusher. He's a sack in every game this year. Like you said, leading the nation in pressures right now. He's got a 92.4 pass rush grade from PFF. I If I try to look, I think I'm gonna have the same problem with a load time, but I know I've seen his name high in the pass rush win rate numbers as well. The thing with Bailey, and you kind of were touching on it there, what I'm kind of curious to see what happens with him is what does the NFL think about him in terms of, is he just a specialist? Is he just one of these pass rush specialists, which we have seen, and rightfully so, NFL teams are comfortable investing high draft capital in these guys. But when we turn that into fantasy, when we think about that from an IDP perspective, it can be very hit or miss with these types of guys. I think one of the latest kind of success story here is Nick Bonito,
Mm-hmm.
where that's a player that was very much a specialist coming out of college, and he has developed into one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. But there's a lot of cases where these guys are just like, they have the arsenal, they have the talent, they have the athleticism, but they're maybe playing less
Yeah,
snaps.
you get 6 sacks a year, and it's like
Yeah, and
cool.
are you putting up the numbers that
Yeah,
warrant being in the lineup every week? And
right.
so I am I'm starting to become a little more cognizant of that with when I'm thinking about D line from an IDP perspective. I mean, we had plenty of guys last year that we were super excited about, like Mike Green, Donovan Ezaraku, like these types of guys where I think to varying degrees with those two players in particular, but I think there was a wide spectrum of guys that it was like, man, I really like what you're giving me as a pass rusher, but are you a rusher? Are you a player that's going to be on the field consistently and getting those opportunities to contribute in my lineup? So
Yep.
that's just something, a bigger conversation I'm thinking about with a guy like Bailey, but he is having an awesome season so far.
Yeah, and another player that's having an awesome season that'll probably be in the lineup every week.
Yeah. This is the opposite of that. This is the player that will be on the field most downs, just like he was this week against Florida State. It is Rueben Bain Jr., his third badge, I believe, already on this young season. I mean, this is Will Anderson type of stuff here in terms of badge accumulation at Camp Dynasty for an IDP. Bain has just been that consistently dominant. And to be quite honest with you, this wasn't even his best game of the year. Like the grades from PFF were reflected when I went back and watched this game and what he was doing. I mean, Florida State was doing as a good of a job as they could against him. They were double teaming him, of course. Castellanos was really utilizing his legs to get the hell out of there when Bain was pushing the pocket. But I mean, 10 pressures again this week. I mean, it was a season high. He was credited for 10 in week 4 when we gave him a badge. That number dropped down. Now he is at 10. Didn't end up getting a sack in this one, but had some really nice plays against the run once again. I mean, he is that type of a player where it's passing downs, it's run downs. He's going to be on the field and he's going to be making an impact. And from a fantasy perspective, contrasting with the conversation we just had about a guy like Bailey, this is the kind of player that you can kind of feel a little bit more comfortable investing in with that type of a pick. And I mean, maybe he's already kind of ascending into that like top tier, but I'm gonna even with the badge numbers that he's racking up, even with the season that he's having, one of the best players in college football. I'm curious if you agree with me on this. He's not as much of a pure pass rusher that I'm thinking about him in the same ways as I was thinking about guys like, Anderson and Carter and like these bottom of round one, tier one edge guys. Like Bain is probably going to be more of a round two type of a dynasty guy for me. But that's not to say that he is not, an exceptional prospect from an IDP perspective as well.
I think Bane is a pretty classic, like solid floor, and then the ceiling is the roof because he has those tackle numbers. He's a good run defender. He's a fundamentally sound player. He's a big player that it's just hard to get the edge on. This game, like you mentioned, 10 pressures, the most he's had this season. It's actually the most he's had since week 8 last year in his game against Louisville, which is probably one of his best games that he's had. But you look at the tackle numbers in these games, and he 5'2", 4'6", 4", and those aren't like it's not a middle linebacker that's going to have 10, 12, but you have those, and then you have a sack on top of it, and that's the type of like buoy that you're talking about. Where we were just talking about David Bailey, and he's gonna like it's gonna be like a boom bust. Is he gonna get the sack and have the 12-point day? Or Rueben Bain, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you an 8 points just off of tackles, and then if I get that sack, get you like a strip sack, and then and now you have a 20 bomb out of your DL spot. So I think Bain is very much like gonna be a really good NFL player. Whether like how long it'll take for it to translate into double-digit sack seasons, I'm not sure. But with the amount of times that he's getting after the quarterback, I think like sooner rather than later you'll be seeing big, big, gaudy number seasons. But until then, it's going to be more of like he is dominating the line of scrimmage more than one ways before you start seeing the actual production come through.
I'm going to say something that is going to not make any sense considering I just said he's probably going to be a round 2 guy for me
Okay.
rather than a bottom of round 1,
Okay.
which could change. I mean, I'm just saying what it feels like right now. I kind of feel like his NFL ceiling, though, or I mean, and I'm thinking about this, of course, from a fantasy perspective, but I think it's kind of one and the same. I think it's Max Crosby.
Mm.
Like when you when
That's a
you
pretty
talk
good
about
ceiling.
right, like and that's what I'm saying. Like when you talk about a player that can be on the field all the time, that is going to defend the hell out of the run, that is also like has the ability to become a top of the league pass rusher. Because I mean, Crosby had an awesome rookie season, but it wasn't really until year 3 that he became the superstar version of Max
Yeah.
Crosby. So I think you could see a similar sort of thing happen with Bain. And that, I mean, there is a reason why at this point he is being discussed as a top 5, maybe top 3 type of a player in the upcoming NFL draft. And if that happens, maybe he inevitably becomes that bottom of round 1, especially in a class like this for us by the end of things. But it's just the build is different. He's not this freaky demon off the edge because he is literally 280 pounds basically.
Can I say his floor comp is
Yes.
Max Crosby's teammate?
Sure. Ooh.
You like that?
Oh,
Tyree Wilson.
yeah, that's a good player.
Really nice run defender that gets after the quarterback every once in a while. Having a decent season this year, but nothing very flashy. I don't know.
Yeah, the good news, the thing that would be like the Tums for me on that, calm the heartburn a little bit, is like Wilson never had this season.
No.
Like he had the last season, which was like, oh my god, this guy could be so good because his arms are like 38 inches long. But like Bain is a world he's a world record or world record this year.
Yep.
By the way, he is getting the craftsman badge.
I like it.
From me. The hand usage in this game was awesome. He was a technician in this game. So
damn right.
Good stuff. All right. That is 8 badges, week 6, 2 IDPs on the program this week. Gotta love that. We got a quarterback. We got a little bit of a quarterback discussion. We got a tight end in the show. I mean, we were all over the place this week.
New names, old names.
Damn, this is a good one to set us up for the midseason rankings update next week. But one player that may or may not appear on the midseason rankings update is up next. It's time to make the call home. Last week, we called Drew Aller from Penn State. We talked about what did his performance against Oregon mean in the greater picture of what Drew Aller is. And we also talked about maybe we get his teammate in the conversation. And we didn't because there was enough to talk about with Aller. But now this week, another loss for Penn State, this time to UCLA, another dud performance for Nicholas Singleton, and he is getting the call home this week.
Yeah, unfortunate, but well earned, I would say, for Singleton this week. It's just been kind of a tough season, I guess, where we were kind of hoping with this Penn State team that it would be, kind of run it back year with them where they were really good last year. And Singleton, not necessarily like the featured piece of that offense last year, still had 1,100 yards on the ground, 12 touchdowns. Like, he was awesome. But I wouldn't say like he was the guy that made that engine go. It was more so like a collective effort of like Drew Aller, Tyler Warren, Singleton. You got pieces from everybody. But Singleton was a nice, supporting character in that offense. And averaged 6.4 yards per carry after, a not so great sophomore season that we kind of harped on a little bit. We were, shouting out Singleton after his freshman year as like one of the next guys, as like this is going to be a Dynasty RB1, RB2. Like, this is going to be a guy like in this class, in this 2026 class, maybe even in the 2025 class. 2023 did not go well. 700 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. Just like pretty ugly, vision problems, just trying to like out athlete everybody. Comes back his junior year, and Penn State almost felt like it tweaked its offense to work with what Singleton was good at, and then Singleton also improves. come to 2025, and it feels like we've reverted fully back to 2023 Singleton. And it's like, now we have Katron Allen, who seems like he's just a better player. And so, like, we can, if Singleton's having one of these games where he's not doing very well, you can just give him 11 carries and like be fine, and then give Katron Allen the rest of the work. And so it feels like he's just like kind of being handled as a change of pace back in this offense, which is pretty appropriate for how he's been playing for the last couple of years. Only has a feature role once all season against Villanova, where he had 20 carries for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns, which still is a pretty inefficient day. I mean, obviously you get the 2 touchdowns, so it makes it look a little better, but like 4.2 yards per carry is not great. Otherwise, he's sitting at like 8, 13, 11, and 11 for touches. So, not a fun Singleton season, I would say.
Singleton is the significant other that you think you can fix. Like, I know I can fix him,
Right.
or like he's
He
getting
just needs
better.
to be in the right scheme.
Yeah.
It's working out. It looked good last year. When it's good, it's good.
When it's good, it's good. Like he's getting better. Like trust me.
We talked
But
about.
man, I gotta say, he's kind of just the player that he's always been. And I really believe that I like this summer. I mean, when I watched his film from last year, he's back over 1,000 yards. He's having highlight plays in the playoff game. I didn't see much improvement out of him. I had a day 3 grade on Singleton coming into this season. And I mean, when we did our way too early rookie mock with the landing spots, I mean, Singleton was like a top 3 pick because he was a first round pick
Yeah.
in the mock draft we were using. Because there were just a lot of people, I think, in the preseason that saw the numbers, that there was the Penn State, a little bit of a playoff bump maybe, and they see this athlete that has these breakaway runs, and it was like, oh yeah, this is definitely like happening now. Like he's going to be a maybe a round 1 guy, probably a round 2 guy, but I mean maybe not what we saw this
No.
summer. I mean, it was not like that at all. And I was hopeful. I still, even then, I was still holding out hope, because for 3 years I've been holding out hope for him that he would figure out how to become a real running back. But instead, he's just kind of he's just an athlete.
Yeah.
That's really what he is. I think like this year, last year, the difference was he was getting those breakaway runs.
Right.
He was getting into space and turning on the jets, which he can do. What he can't do is create yards consistently. He's never been a tackle breaker. He has never been, for a guy of this level of athleticism. Most missed tackles forced, he said, in a season was 33. And that was last year. I mean, 33 on 174 carries. That's nothing.
I mean,
compared
never had more than 5 in a game.
Right, and he's never been an elusive player. He's never consistently ran with power. He's always been a very one-dimensional running back. And this season, 5 games, it's enough for me. It's enough for me to know he's just never going to be that player, and it sucks. I get it. It sucks because he's such a good athlete. We saw the flashes when he was a true freshman. It felt like he was going to be the next guy.
As a true freshman, that's the last time he's had more than 5 missed tackles forced.
There it is.
He had a game with 8 and a game with 9.
I mean, he ran with more power that season, had more yards after contact.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like the injuries just kind of like make you a little more gun shy about like laying the wood, but I don't know.
I have no idea, but I mean, he's always had a vision issue.
Yeah.
He's never been a running back that's consistently playing like on time and getting to the right spots. So it's just this is just who he is. And you might still have people that get to the draft process and they're like, but what could he be? What could he be though? And I'm like, I've asked that question for 3 years and I'm just done. I'm
Yeah.
just done.
Yeah. At some point, it's just like, he is what he is, and that's okay.
Quinshawn Judkins is in the NFL right now kicking ass.
God, I love
The
John
same
Jenkins.
season that Singleton had his big true freshman season, and it's just couldn't be more different between those two players.
Yeah. Dane Brugler says Katron Allen is better, which I think is a cold take at this point.
It is a very cold take, and that's also kind of saying something about Singleton, because like Katron Allen is not
Yeah.
a high prospect at the running back position. He's
Right.
just not.
Yeah.
And so that tells you kind of where Singleton is or should be at this point. All right. Well, that is the bad news. But we do not end on bad news during the season, baby. And this is going to be a really fun one. Let's gather around the campfire and reminisce about the campers of old on All Grown Up.
Already won a touchdown. Robinson's going to have two today. He's looking. He's throwing for the end zone. Fingers and grab. And that's a crouch in first and goal. JT. So much power. He's got big evening.
So the last few weeks, we get out here, and it's kind of just like Ashton Genty's cool. And Emeka Egbuka's cool. I like these guys a lot.
Which is all true.
It's all very true. But at the same time, what does it all mean? I think this is maybe the week where you and I start to get into it a little bit about what does this all mean? Like what are we doing right now with these players? And I was on KTC today getting ready for this.
Sorry for that. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that. Because we use KTC, of course, because this is the best representation we have of where the Dynasty community is at with certain players. And I want to start with Emeka Egbuka this week, who is amazing and awesome, and I love him. But I also want to kind of get a temperature check on where we are as a community with Emeka Egbuka and what this start means for the player and what you could be thinking if you have this player or want this player or something. Like, where do we sit right now? I'm going to read you some of the keep trade cuts
Ooh.
that involved Emeka Egbuka today.
Okay. Great.
And I want you to do them, and then I'll tell you what the people that actually did them did.
Okay.
So we're going to start.
Okay.
Emeka Egbuka,
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor, Omarion Hampton.
God. Heavy. Okay. I feel like, and this might be, I want to keep Jonathan Taylor. And it's between Omarion Hampton and Egbuka, and it is close. But I still want to keep Hampton. So, like, I think I would keep JT, trade Hampton, cut Egbuka. And can I try to guess what they did?
Yes.
Okay. I'm guessing they kept Egbuka, trade Hampton, cut JT.
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So-
like, okay. And I know that you have a lot to say, but real quick about Jonathan Taylor. Why? Like, what? That's the guy. He's doing the thing of like what you want your player to do, where he's a pretty young running back having like an RB1 season on a good offense with no competition in the backfield, catches passes, runs the ball. Like, The only player in the NFL to have multiple 3-touchdown games. Like, I don't know why you like. I get Omari and Hampton and Egbuka are great and like great dynasty assets, but in a vacuum, how do you not choose JT?
It's the beauty of the game. I mean, to be quite honest with you, just Omari and Hampton against JT, I think, is a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, it's going to depend where the team is. That's why in a
Well,
vacuum
sure, right.
never works. But I could see the argument for Hampton there.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
Okay.
So, Emeka Egbuka, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brock Bowers.
Oh man, this is not tight end premium, people. Just so you
It's not.
know. But you think about the scarcity of the tight end position in Dynasty, and what it takes to be, what Brock Bowers already is. You're keeping JSN. That I think you go without saying. He's might be the best wide receiver in football right now. Top 3, I would say. I think he's right underneath those like 2 mainstays of like Chase and Jefferson. I think you'd very quickly get into a Jackson Smith and Jigba conversation. So I'm gonna stick him in the keep, and based on like just positional value and like scarcity, I feel like you go Bowers, but I could hear an argument for Egbuka here.
The correct answer, according to KTC, is
keep Egbuka.
you keep Egbuka.
You trade JSN and you cut Bowers.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like I got 3 more for you after this one.
Yeah.
We're gonna get progressively more weird. This is the one where it's like, are we really not keeping JSN already?
That felt
we
like
remember that JSN was this, like, he is this player.
Yeah.
But like he's like the best in the sport right now, and he's 23 years old or 24 years old.
And he like the other thing with JSN is he has no competition.
Yeah.
Like he has like the corpse of Cooper Kupp, and like Torrey Horton's cool, but like this Seahawks offense is awesome, and like Mike Evans is going to come back. Chris Godwin's going to continue to earn more targets. Like, as much as I love Egbuka, like this feels more like awesome, like 6-week flash in the pan. And like obviously he'll build on it for his career, but like when it comes to this season, I think you'll feel pretty silly in like week 12 when you're going into your fantasy playoffs and you're like, yeah, I traded Egbuka for JSN, and it's like, or you traded, vice versa, traded JSN away for Egbuka, and it's like, was that the move to make? Unless you're rebuilding, which I get, but like JSN's not a year older than Egbuka. Like, I don't know.
Okay. Next one. Emeka Egbuka, Ashton Genty,
Oh God.
Nico Collins.
Okay. Oh man. I'm gonna keep Genty. I'm gonna get that out of the way. To Nico, like I don't want this to just be like us shitting on Emeka Egbuka, because like he's fun having a great season. I can hear an argument for Egbuka over Nico Collins, and like I might support that argument. But as of today, like I still feel like I'd want Nico Collins.
The correct answer.
Don't tell me they're keeping Egbuka over Genty.
We're gonna keep Egbuka. We're gonna trade Genty. We're gonna cut Nico. So the guy that just went 101 in this draft,
Who's now worse than Egbuka.
just had a 30-point game a couple weeks ago, is now worse than the guy who's scoring a few more points right now.
Yeah.
I'm doing this to just illustrate what happens to player value in Dynasty when guys are producing right now.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of stuff that happens like so quickly. The last two, there's two more.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And I want this is like the grand finale here. Emeka Egbuka, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CD Lamb.
I mean, it's between Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb, and then you cut Egbuka. Like, I prefer. I think I would prefer. Wow, that's a good question. I think I'd prefer CD over Amon-Ra, but like, that's a toss up. Like horse bees, flip a coin. But you don't take Egbuka over either of them. But I'm sure that I'm mistaken in this scenario.
The correct answer is you keep Egbuka. you trade Amon-Ra and you cut CD. All right, last one.
You cut CD, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Last one, similar, but there's a little bit of a wrench here. Emeka Egbuka, CD Lamb, Malik Neighbors.
Oh, rest in peace, Malik. I mean, you keep CD. Let's get that out of the way. This is more dependent on like team need in a vacuum. I again can see why. I'll say Egbuka. We'll trade Egbuka, so I don't say you cut him in every single scenario. But like, I don't know. Like, I think you cut him in all these scenarios. But if you have a strong belief that like ACLs, like he had like a 3 tendon tear in his knee. So like if you have a strong feeling that like maybe his explosiveness is going to be sapped, I can absolutely see why you'd want to go Egbuka here. So like I will hear that argument. I'll say that for the sake of the argument that like yeah, we can take Egbuka in that situation.
So there were two of this type, and in one case they kept CD.
Yep.
In the other case, they kept Neighbors.
Okay.
Egbuka was the trade in both of them. So you had one instance of cutting Neighbors, you had one of cutting CD. So this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, though. That is like when you use KTC as a tool.
Yeah.
When you go to this platform and you plug your guys into the calculator and you send your, what it spits out to the other guy or the other person, and it's like, well, yeah, this trade is fair. This is where that data is coming from. It's coming from Emeka Egbuka just had a massive game. He's having a hell of a 5-week start, 4-week start, or whatever it's been now. Can't keep anything straight. 5 weeks. This is what happens. I mean, think back to last year. Malik Neighbors was doing this exact same thing. You couldn't have pried Malik Neighbors from anybody's cold dead hands while this was happening. He was the unanimous Dynasty wide receiver 1, the most, valuable asset in the entire game. And now we have situations where somebody out there is choosing to keep Emeka Egbuka over Malik Neighbors. And, no shortage of other instances of, keeping him over Genty, keeping him over JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CD Lamb. I mean, that is what this production does to people. That dopamine rush, that immediate feeling of validation and vindication, and suddenly it's like, this is the most valuable player in the game right now. And I hate to say it, but that's kind of like how people can take advantage of these situations.
And so right now, we're talking just as a KTC conversation. Emeka Egbuka is the wide receiver 8 in Dynasty on KTC, which makes him the rookie wide receiver 1 over McMillan. And, like, you can make that argument. Again, like, I'm not here to say, like, Emeka Egbuka is a bad player or anything like that. But when you're like looking at this, and Garrett Wilson is sitting here, and he's wide receiver 14 in Dynasty, and he's like the wide receiver 5 right now. Like, he's producing, he's doing the thing that, like, he's had a couple 1,000-yard seasons, yes, but he's mostly been a little bit underwhelming, I would say. He's finally not having an underwhelming season. He's like 25 years old, becoming a superstar, and like KTC does not care. And like that's the type of thing where it's like that's a good thing where maybe you're not overreacting to the production, but when it's a rookie and like the production happens, it's like you said, you have that vindication and that dopamine rush of like, hey, I hit on my pick. Like, this is the GOAT. This is the best player in fantasy football. And like that was happening with Omari and Hampton. He had those like 2 25-point weeks in a row. Genty, you couldn't have told Genty drafter shit after he had 30 points. So like, I get it. You have this ownership, and like maybe you tanked for these picks, you traded for these picks, and you drafted someone highly. Maybe Egbuka fell to you at 10, and like now he's like, oh yeah, he's a, you know, now the value's through the roof because you know you got him at 10, and all your league mates are dumb because they didn't take him. But regardless, like when we're going into KTC and we're seeing these like overreactions, you need to temper it a little bit, where you can't just be like, okay, now I'm gonna trade Emeka Egbuka for CD Lamb straight up. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on that, because while you can send them the screenshot and it'll be like, hey, this only favors me by, 200 points. It's like, all right, let's be realistic.
It's just, and to be clear, I like Egbuka a lot. Like, this is not a diss track at all. Like, we've talked about this player for 2 years. We love this player. We love that he's having an awesome start to this season. He has obviously increased his value from the draft. There is no world in which it's like, let's keep players where their draft value was for 5 years.
Right, no.
Like, that's not what this is about. It's the fact that this type of stuff, it's never linear. Like, Emeka Egbuka having this start right now does not mean that this is going to be what his career looks like for the next 8 years. Like, this is not going to be representative in most cases of a player's career. So you have to be willing to go out on a limb sometimes and bet on players that you feel like have the best chance of having long-term, sustained years of high-end production. And that's why that conversation about JSN versus Egbuka is really absurd to me, because JSN was a better prospect who is also now arguably, because they just went head-to-head this week and it was pretty damn close, but like arguably the better player right now as well. So he was more highly regarded. He's better now. He's only like a year and a half or whatever, 2 years older. Why the hell would I take this player then?
He is a half a year older.
There you go. There you go. So
he is a little over 6 months older than Emeka Egbuka.
Just pretend they were in the same draft class.
Yeah.
Because they could have been,
right,
with that age discrepancy. Imagine this is JSN's rookie year. Who are you going to take?
So, like, if they are next to each other in wide receiver rankings on KTC, which is the flaw that we're talking about here. If someone sent you, as a JSN owner, if someone sent you Emeka Egbuka and Noah Fant, which KTC says is fair,
right?
Like, you don't think about it twice. But, like, you can justify it, be like, well, this is, like, what KTC says is fine. Like, it's good for both of us. You get the younger player and a tight end. It's like, all right, let's look at this objectively, people.
Yeah, it is a tool. It is a tool, but it is not the almanac. It is not giving you all the answers to there are no answers. This is a very complicated and long-term game. Like that's the reality of it. I
Would
mean,
you
there you
take?
could
You have CD Lamb.
I do.
Would you take a Mecha Igbuka and Joe Mixon?
No.
That's fair. You want me to send you the screenshot of KTC?
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cuz
Actually, it only favors you by 30 points. So
this I only bring it up because I've seen some heinous things on KTC lately. One being that Cam Scattaboo is worth more right now than Travis Hunter, which, yes, this is not viewing Hunter as an IDP, but still, I mean, what are we talking about?
as we see like Travis Hunter be like better and better every week as a wide receiver, it just feels like silly that people doubted him. And I think they're going to continue to doubt him because, I think you have these reservations about a player, and like Scattaboo is fun, and he's being like pushed by the league. I think a little bit too. I think there's a little bit of like, I wouldn't say industry plant because I think Cam Scattaboo is actually good, but there's a little bit of that like extra hype of like the NFL's backing him. He's a good social media guy, and like I feel like the NFL is like hung Travis Hunter out to dry. Like I don't know what's going on with like the marketing of like Travis Hunter, but he has completely been like forgotten about until it's like the Jags playing primetime, and it's like Travis Hunter is playing both sides of the ball. It's like, yeah, we know it's been 5 weeks. Like this isn't like news to us, but yeah, I don't know. When rookies produce, it gets out of hand pretty fast, and I think we just gotta tap the brakes a little bit. We don't gotta slam on the brakes, but just like try to be as objective as possible. Try not to like overreact, but also like I know this is like fun, and like the thing that you're chasing in Dynasty is your rookies being good, and like when it happens, you're bound to overreact. And like I get it, that's fine, but like then you gotta put those glasses on when you look at KTC, and you can't use it as an objective tool.
I'm forever gonna go back to 2 years, back-to-back years of having conversations. The first one was JSN versus Jordan Addison. That was a conversation that was happening at that time, and it was pretty widely viewed that you would take Addison at least at some point during that season. And the big one last year, which is a little bit more complex, and this is not one that I think is as cut and dry as that one was, but the one that we talked about last year was Rome Odunze versus Ladd McConkey. And it was very, very heavily Ladd when we talked about that conversation. And today, that is not the case. So this is a game that changes year over year. Players' values change year over year. You have to trust talent as your North Star. That's the only way to play the game. If you chase points, it's gonna not be a fun time for you more often than it is.
That's right. And I know we preach patience, and it's probably annoying to hear us say like be patient all the time. And it's hard to be patient. It's hard to not see the points in your lineup. It's hard to see the guy that you maybe passed on having those points in the lineup, and you being like, man, I could have had Ladd, but I decided to take Rome. But like if you waited and if you were patient in like that situation, you feel pretty good today. Like you're sitting in a good spot. So keep a level head, guys. Don't gotta overreact to every little thing. Guys are going to score touchdowns. Guys are going to get yards. It's a game. It's okay.
And everybody listening to this knows that, because we're all counselors at Camp Dynasty, and we know what we're doing. These KTC people, who's ever voting on this stuff, yeah, figure it out. Slow down. Slow down. Man, that's the classic. That's the scariest move you can make in Dynasty. It's what last year's version was like. You trade Lad for Rome Plus.
Right.
That's the scariest move you can make, but it is a move that is time tested as a very effective strategy.
Selling high is real hard when it's not a 26-year-old running back.
Yes.
Yes. When you're like, because like the move when you're rebuilding is like, yeah, I trade Saquon for 2 firsts. Like, that's the easy move. When you're like, you know, I see a value gap here in, you know, say it was Ladd last year. And, like, I don't want to say, like, again, I'm not beating up on Ladd.
Oh, Ladd is a good player.
Yeah, but if you were like, yeah, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. maybe, and you're like, and this could go for right now because, you know, there's still some struggles there. He's been better, but there's still some, you know, whatever, and you're like, oh, I can trade, you know, this player for Marvin Harrison Jr. plus. It's not like the most exciting trade to be like, you know, you're not going to feel good about it like this coming Sunday, but that's why you play the long game.
Yep. Anybody else you want to hit?
I think we yelled enough.
Yeah, that was a lot of yelling. Save some of these wide receivers for next. I got some later wide receivers. We can talk about them next week. But
Mike Tomlin said that Caleb Johnson needs to get more touches to get into a rhythm to prove how good he is.
There it is.
Brother, the call is coming from inside the house. Give him the touches. Jalen Warren is out.
Hey,
that's all right. You don't gotta. I just needed to say.
According to KTC, you could trade Woody Marks for Caleb Johnson plus right now. So
I take it.
So dude. All right, that is week 5 of the NFL and week 6 of college football. It's just something. It's a little bit of therapy, you know. You get around the campfire. It's therapeutic. You have to talk it out. Sometimes you're not even talking to anybody. You're just talking to the moon and the stars and the crackling fire. It's just like, why do people not want to have Malik Neighbors on their team?
Yeah. I know he tore his knee, but he's still a freak of nature. What is happening? He's the perfect kind of wide receiver. He wants the ball really bad.
Yeah.
God, that's all I want.
God damn it. That's just.
If my wide receiver doesn't yell at the quarterback, I don't want him.
Yeah.
I want to be like, give me the damn ball.
Like AJ Brown.
AJ Brown needs to yell more.
Wants to slap the shit out of Jalen Hurts.
How about you say, fuck a Super Bowl, send me to the Browns. They'll give me 15 targets a game.
Yeah.
If you're real about it, AJ Brown, if this isn't performative, go do something fucking rash. Go be like, I want to be traded to who's a team that go trade me to the Raiders. I want to see Geno Smith throw me fucking fade balls 8 times a game.
Yep.
All right.
No balls.
No balls. You won't.
If you enjoyed our discussion this week, be sure to find us on Twitter, camp_dynasty, TikTok at camp.dynasty. Most importantly, if you are watching us on YouTube, hello, thanks for being here. And if you could please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already, if you enjoyed yourself, because that helps us and we appreciate it quite a bit. And if you're on the pod feed, same goes over there. Be sure to like and follow and rate and maybe even leave a review if you got time to do that, because we very much appreciate that as well. And of course, it helps the show. So thank you for doing all of that. And any closing remarks on the week?
Go request a trade, AJ Brown. Be a man.
Thanks for stopping by Camp Dynasty this week, and we'll see you next week.